Hi guys, I am Saumya and I am back with another video. So in today's video, I'll be talking about my 10 favorite Indian books. If you are a reader and a book lover, then you should definitely subscribe to my channel Saumya'sbookstation, as I make loads of bookish content on this channel. And if you like this video, do not forget to give this a thumbs up and also share it, and do not forget to press the bell icon so that you get notified every time I post a video. So as someone who loves to read, I'll say this much, that India has no dearth of literary talent, which is why it was very difficult for me to narrow this list down to just 10 books, but I've tried my best. If you haven't checked these books out, then you definitely should, because they are great reads. Also, this list is not at all exhaustive. I'm pretty sure that I'm yet to come across some amazing Indian books in time to come, but yes, this is a list that I have made out of the books that I have read so far. Also, please do share your own list of your favorite Indian books in the comment section. So let's get into the video. The first book is Malgudi Days by R.K. Narayan. So this is a collection of short stories, and the stories in this book are taking place in a fictional town called Malgudi. The stories in this book revolve around the common folk and ordinary people, and they are mostly about the mundane day-to-day routine events taking place in the town of Malgudi. And the stories have been written in a very simple English. The very simplicity and the rawness with which the stories are told becomes the biggest selling point of Malgudi Days while reading it. When you read this book, you are able to form a connection with the characters because they are nothing out of the ordinary, and hence they do not seem like they're very distant. They seem very close to your heart. When you read Malgudi Days, reading about mundane events makes you realize that even normal routine events can be expressed and talked about very beautifully, because that's what happens in this book. And if you haven't picked this book up, it is one of the classics of Indian literature, then you should definitely go for it, because it's a lovely reading experience. The next book is Sea of Poppies by Amitav Ghosh. This is the first book in the Ibis trilogy by Amitav Ghosh, and so much is going on in this book. The basic premise of the story is that there is a ship called Ibis which is taking a lot of people from India to Mauritius. This book has a wide range of characters coming from different sections of the society, and all of them have boarded Ibis for their own different reasons, and we get to read the backstory of each of these characters. They are important in their own separate ways, which is why the magnitude of the story is immense. I was extremely invested in this story because of that very reason. My personal reason for picking this book up was because it talks about the characters from India who were shipped from India to another country, and as a result of that they lost all of their connections with their motherland, and they were in a situation where they had to build new lives for themselves in another country. This book ended at a point which made me want to pick up the next book. Is something that I love about it. By the way, I'm already reading the next book in the Ibis trilogy. It's called River of Smoke. The next book is Remnants of a Separation by Aanchal Malhotra. So this book is non-fiction and is about the partition of India. So it consists of accounts of 19 different people. People who came from Pakistan to India, people who went from India to Pakistan, and people who came from Bangladesh to India. So it's a very comprehensive book in that sense, and it is very well researched, I must say. These people share their experiences from the time of partition. They talk about their lives before the partition, and they talk about their experiences during the partition. It is a very emotional and a heartbreaking book, and also, not to forget, extremely educational. When you read this book, you literally go back in time, because this book has been written in such a vivid manner that you're able to picturize what is happening and what the people are talking about. The concept of this book is to revisit the time of partition through material memory. That is basically the people who have shared their experiences and stories in this book also show some object that they brought with themselves or took with themselves to the other side of the border during the time of partition, and how it reminds them of their past life. As I said, it's too emotional, and this is one of those books that you must read if you want to get a sense of the partition of India. The next book is Narcopolis by Jeet Thair. So the story in this book is taking place in the Bombay of 1970s, and the story revolves a lot around drugs. Opium is the main drug that gets talked about in this book. So the characters in this book either run a drug joint or they visit this joint to get high on drugs or opium specifically, because the center point in the story is Rashid's opium room or opium joint, where we read about a lot of different characters. We read about Rashid and we read about this one character called Dimple who works there. We read about different people who visit this joint, and this is also kind of a commentary on the Bombay of 1970s. To me personally, what made Narcopolis very fascinating was that it talked about a world that is usually hidden. So for somebody who is as curious as me, this was a new experience which I liked reading about. The characters in this book often get high on drugs, and the trance-like state that they go in is often described in this book, making it a slow reading experience but at the same time also lending it a dream-like surreal quality. The next book is 11 Ways to Love. Now this book is non-fiction and it is a collection of 11 essays written by 11 different people. Each essay is preceded by a poem, and this book consists of a foreword by Gulzar. You see, there is no right or wrong way to love. Love is something that does not follow conventions. It cannot be boxed in one single definition, and if you are somebody whose love is different from that of a lot of people, you do not need to feel like you are different. You still belong, and that is precisely the emotion that this wonderful book celebrates. In these 11 essays, 11 different people have shared their real life experiences with this emotion of love. This book also consists essays from people belonging to the LGBTQ community, which I feel is wonderful, and I think this is a book that you should definitely pick up if you want to read something different about love. And there is nothing conventional about this book. It's unusual and beautiful, has been written wonderfully, and also it is the kind of book that when you read it, it opens your mind up, and I think that's the best thing about this book. The next book is Ghachar Ghochar by Vivek Shanbhag, translated from Kannada by Srinath Perur. Now, if you are somebody who follows my channel, you know how much I love this book, and it is not possible for me to not include this book in a video that talks about my favorite Indian books, because one of the biggest reason for that is that it talks about a theme that is most important to us Indians, and that is family. So Ghachar Ghochar is the story of a family that goes from rags to riches because their spice business starts doing very well. One of the family members starts this business and it really just booms, so they become rich, and obviously everything about their lifestyle changes. Some of their morals also change, but one thing that stays the same is that they remain as close as they were before. They are a very tight-knit family. They support each other no matter what. Even if a family member does something morally incorrect, they still stand by that family member. That is how strong their bond is. The story has been narrated by one of the family members who, even though has a mild personality, but does a fantastic job of narrating the story of his own family. Ghachar Ghochar is a very real story with extremely real characters, which is why you may not always like these characters, but you'll still want to read about them because of the truth that prevails in the entire book. Also, the story has been written in a very direct manner. There is the vibe of either take it or leave it, because this is what it is. So that is what makes this book very special. The next book is Tales of Fosterganj by Ruskin Bond. So this is a collection of short stories, and these stories are taking place in a fictitious town of Fosterganj. So a young writer lives in this town, and basically these stories are his experiences meeting different characters in Fosterganj and some of his own individual experiences. The reason that I have included this book in this video is that I love Ruskin Bond books, and secondly, this one in particular is a very fun, cute, adorable kind of a read, because some of the characters are truly very amusing to read about, and some incidents that we get to read about in this book are also very funny and entertaining. You see, Tales of Fosterganj is the kind of book that you can literally make your travel companion, because this book does not take much of your time, and it is also a very pleasant experience reading this one. Next book is Cobalt Blue by Sachin Kundalkar, translated from Marathi to English by Jerry Pinto. So a young artist comes to live as a paying guest in the Joshi family's house, and the siblings Tanay and Anuja both fall madly in love with him. So he forms his separate relationships with both Tanay and Anuja, but one day he just disappears on both of them. So Cobalt Blue is basically a story of their heartbreaks. The first half of the story is Tanay's perspective, and the second half is Anuja's perspective. Tanay's perspective has been written in a manner where he expresses his feelings in the form of a monologue. Anuja's perspective is in the form of a diary entry. Even though Tane and Anuja are both very different people, but heartbreak hits both of them really hard, and the way their feelings have been expressed in this book is the main highlight of the story. If you have been through heartbreak, this book is going to hit you right in the feels, because it sucks when somebody comes into your life without your permission and they leave without your permission. That is unfair. The next book is 3000 Stitches by Sudha Murthy. So this is a collection of 11 stories, but these stories are actually real incidents because this book is non-fiction. I read this book only a few months back, and this is one of those books that I used to see everywhere. After reading it, I realized that this is one of those books that completely deserve the hype that surrounds it, and I hope this book becomes even more popular. If you haven't read this, you should definitely go for this book. The reason that I love this book is it's very, very inspiring. It talks about how you should not give up. It talks about how you should be kind. Basically, it's full of many life lessons written in a very simple manner, which makes this book all the more effective. The next book is Pyre by Perumal Murugan. This one has been translated from Tamil to English by Aniruddhan Vasudevan. So Pyre is a story of a young married couple. The guy is called Kumarisan and the girl is called Saroja. Now they both get married, but they both belong to different castes. Now caste is a very big deal in Kumarisan's village. So when they arrive in that village, they decide to keep this fact secret that they are not from the same caste. But because of Saroja's appearance and her conduct, the villagers do not believe the young couple and they become suspicious. Pyre is a very dark story that talks about the evils of the caste system, and it talks about how the society tries to impose restrictions on the people, how the society tries to control even the basic decisions that people should be free to take. Pyre on the whole has a very gloomy vibe to it, but at the same time it is a total page turner. So guys, that was my list of 10 Indian books that I absolutely love, and if you haven't checked these books out, you definitely should. If you want to get your hands on any of these books, then please do consider using my affiliate links, because that will support me and I'll appreciate it. That was it for today's video. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description box. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.